their volume.
Sean, do we have anything live embedded yet?
Wrong button. All right, cool. There we go. I've definitely invited people. Just waiting for them to trickle in.
Right. And I was looking at the session one. I've got that screen open on a different computer, and there's like 2 digital citizenship ones. I don't know if there's this one session and then if there's going to be another digital citizenship the second session, but
I believe there is.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of duplicates on the other set.
okay.
So it looks like we have 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got about 7 people signed up for this one. Just kind of waiting to see if they're going to join.
Okay.
I can try inviting again. Oh, someone else joins. No. Let's see here. Sending him back out again. Let's see. So I've got Natalie Christina and Michelle in here now already. Okay,
Yep.
cool. Tana and Natalie. Okay. Yeah, the copy paste thing that I was supposed to do is not working.
So Michelle, what is a recovering English/LA teacher? What does that mean?
Well, I was an English teacher originally on the West Coast, and then my husband and I moved out to the Midwest, and I always joke that the culture shock wasn't going from Oregon to Kentucky so much as going from high school to middle school. So I did middle school English language arts, obviously. That's English was secondary, obviously, and LA was the middle school level. And then did that for 5 years and kind of realized I was beating my head up against the wall in the school where I worked because they weren't supporting tech integration. And I had been teaching online, so it was really hard to leave that kind of approach to teaching. And so I'm lucky that I live in an area where I can cross the river and be in another state with a whole other philosophy. And so I did that, and I went into basically, I thought I was going to be a literacy coach and ended up being a e-learning coach. And now I do that for the state, so it's kind of exciting stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you work with teachers and...
Yeah, I work with people in all levels. It's really interesting, and a lot of what I do is just helping people build their networks and connecting people and sharing ideas, which is one of the reasons I need to learn Google Air, Hangouts on Air, because we're going to start doing some real short snippets of people's I don't want to say they're edu-wins, but I want to say their edu-process. And just giving them a chance to start telling their stories and doing it in a way that it's easy to pop in and catch one live, or after work one afternoon, maybe listen to one on the, between finishing the bell work and going to a faculty meeting. It's not something that's going to tie you to your desk for an hour. So I love my work just because I can empower teachers.
Yep.
And you don't get to say that very often when you work for the DOE.
No, you really don't. I just thought it was interesting, recovering.
Yes, well,
arts teacher, so I liked that word. So
it's hard. I miss the classroom all the time, but I have to remember that what I'm doing, it's not anything I ever planned to do, but it's, I think, what I'm supposed to be doing. So, but it's this time of year because we're getting ready to go back to school next month. It gets a little tough. In Indiana, we start school well, not everybody, but we do start school in August. So schools start going back to class between early August and Labor Day. So we have a whole month of rotation.
Okay. See, I'd like that. I'm in Minnesota, and we're really bound by our resort group and
Mhm.
we have to get waivers to start before Labor Day. And our
Wow.
state fair is the week before Labor Day, and so we have a traditional 3 month, well, 2.5 month or so, summer vacation, and honestly, it's too long. It's
So there's
really
really no way you could do a year-round calendar because we've
no.
adopted the flexibility. You could choose to do year-round, and unless you just chose to take that summer break toward the end of the summer and go through June and do that. So
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, no, we have to, there has to be an application to the Department of Ed, and they have to give you a waiver. We have some schools that start um, like 2 weeks before Labor Day, so the middle of August, but then they're also done right at Memorial Day.
Right.
So the idea being, okay, we've got 2 extra weeks, we can get all of this testing, prep stuff done
Hmm.
easier with that extra time. So
And
it's
I
isn't
guess
just
it
we
it's
can.
funny?
interesting.
Sorry, I was gonna say I guess we can get started
All right.
once we're ready. I had my sound down for a second. Okay. I invited everyone else on the list, so we'll just wait and see if they join. But
Okay.
so digital citizenship.
Yep.
So I guess working for DO, you've got that's a big topic for you,
It
Michelle.
is. It is. 2 years ago, I came to this job, and part of that initial why they approached me was because of my work with digital citizenship, and I felt like we really weren't getting anywhere aside from me tweeting about it and making Pinterest boards and sharing resources and talking about it wherever I go. But this year, we actually have a budget line item for student e-leadership. And so I'm really excited because I get to plan out some real activities, and that means I actually have work. I'm in a hotel right now up in Indy because I work from home normally. And so when I get done with my little conference circuit I'm on right now, I have to go home and really crank out the details. But I'm really looking forward to doing a digital citizenship week.
Oh, nice.
Not as like this is the week to talk about it, but really that idea of let's launch this, and every week during the year, let's be talking and sharing and doing things. So trying to move people from that vaccination. I heard someone describe, I don't know, did anyone go to ISTE this year?
Sadly, no. I was
Yeah,
not at ISTE.
Oh.
I did the Not at ISTE.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been there. I've done that. But I was lucky to go, and I got to hear that first set of Ignite speeches, and I can't remember who spoke about digital citizenship per se, but she described it as a vaccine approach. And I really like that because that is a good connotation for what happens so often. Let's vaccinate these kids and they'll be good to go, and it doesn't work like that. So.
No, it has to be um, constant, ongoing. I've done a BYOD program in my classroom for the past 5 years, and I'm the only teacher in my building that has that program. And so the first 3 weeks of school, I don't even do English stuff. We spend the first 3 weeks on digital citizenship. I've created a bunch of materials based on Dr. Mike Ribble's 9 elements. I've pulled some stuff from Common Sense Media, and then as more and more teachers have started using technology in the classroom, we have in our advisory every week something related to digital citizenship. We're going to be actually moving to a one-to-one iPad program, and so we really need to beef up not only teacher digital citizenship, but student and parent digital
Exactly.
citizenship. So it's kind of a big deal, I think.
Have you guys, since you're in the planning stages for rolling out your one-to-one, are you already starting to like put on the calendar events for parents to open conversations around the topics that are going to be relevant?
That hasn't even been talked about. We're still trying to figure out how do we physically get the devices into students' hands starting the second week of September. So I think that's kind of been the big push in my district. And of course, being where I'm at in terms of having done this for so many years, I'm trying to maybe at my building level do a little bit more. But as a district, we're not quite there yet. So
It's just one of the lessons learned that I've been able to experience and unfortunately witness.
yep.
But the sooner you can engage those parents in conversations about, digital responsibilities, It's so critical. And a lot of parents
Right.
have fear. You know, you hear about teachers who have fear about kids being connected in the classroom, and a lot of parents have the same fears.
Right.
Even though their kids are walking around with phones that have just as much power.
Absolutely. They don't quite get what their kids are doing, and we need to, help them figure it out. I actually had a friend of mine posted on Facebook. She was shopping at Walmart. She's also a teacher, and she happened to see a former student videoing her at Walmart while she's shopping for diapers for her baby. And it's just like, really? Really? Do we do that? No, no, we don't. So there's a huge learning piece we need to do. So
Yeah.
yeah. So Dan, you are a
Uh-huh.
ed tech coach.
Yeah, I'm an ed tech coach at Los Alamitos High School in Southern California,
Okay.
and it's kind of we're a district that has been relatively low tech for a really long time. And I'd say in the last like 2, 3 years, devices started rolling in, and not really until the last year did we really get a lot of devices and the Wi-Fi to support them. And uh, one of the things that they initially started was this ed tech coach position, and it's really only one period. So I get an hour every day out of my like teaching schedule to like help answer questions and support teachers and go into some classrooms and solve some problems and help develop PD and develop different tools for teachers and students. And this is the first this last year was the first year where I had the position all year, and it was really like a device rollout year. And I'm looking forward to this year really being able to use those tools, and digital citizenship is going to be something that we are going to work on right out of the gate. So
All right.
yeah, so ed tech coach, but teacher too. I teach science, biology, and chemistry.
Okay.
You definitely have more cred when you're still in the classroom. So smart
Yeah,
move on your district's part.
Yeah.
definitely more cred. That is true, but I feel like I get 1 hour, but it's 3 to 4 hours a day, so I split my schedule between the two. But it's worth it. It's fun. I love my job.
Yeah, it's
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 good.
it's great when you can have that passion that you bring to the technology, and that way
Mhm.
other teachers can see that, okay, this isn't going to be some horrible torture thing that I have to, you know, one more thing I have to watch the kids mess with or whatever, and you can give tips and tools to make sure that it's a valuable resource for students. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's when they can come in and watch. Like if someone's nervous, either they'll come in and watch me, or now that we have enough teachers as of last year who are kind of well on their way to using the tools effectively, we have plenty of examples to kind of get people's feet wet and kind of warm them up to the idea. So and then once you see them take off, it's awesome once they
yep.
get started. So, what are I guess, what are some suggestions since we're going to be really going full bore on digital citizenship this year? What are some suggestions you would have for like just getting started and reaching out to parents and students?
Well, for me, with students, one activity we do is I have them look at their digital footprint, and I have seventh and eighth graders, so they're like 13, 14 years old, and some of these kids have a lot out there. They have Facebook, they have Twitter, they have Kick, all of these different places that they have these accounts, and some of them are out. If they do a Google search on themselves, they find pictures of themselves, they find posts that they made that they didn't think anyone would see. And so that's one of the places that I start with my students and plan to start with parents is, what's your digital footprint? And I know there are a lot of parents who don't realize that when they post their kids' pictures on Facebook, if they're not set to private, their kids' pictures are all over the place and can be found in a Google image search. So I think that's really the place to start, is have them start with, where are you right now? What do you know? Where do you see yourself when you're out on the internet? Um, and then go from there. And then I break it down into the different elements of, literacy and safety and health and wellness and all of those. So
I forget who I was. I was somewhere in the last like 6 weeks at talking with someone about it, and they use the term digital presence, and
yes.
as opposed to footprint. And I really like that term in terms of because it gives it like a now importance. That
Yeah, that's why I like saying Google yourself rather than like looking for your footprint, because I think it's really important that we understand. I love Will Richardson's approach to the idea of digital citizenship is about being digitally responsible and represented. He actually, when he does keynotes and he's come to our state and done a lot of different conferences, he has like the whole audience raise their hand and take an oath. And so they're standing there and everyone's got their hands up and they're saying, I want to be, and they say, and he goes, found on the internet by strangers. And everyone starts giggling because it's like, that's really uncomfortable, but that's the truth. I mean, that's
Right.
part of being a connected educator, connected learner. And we all should be connected learners. And so anyhow, I just love that approach. Why are we doing this? And then explaining to students the value and the need to knows. I get nervous. I love Ribble. I mean, gosh, 5 years ago when I first became a coach, I bought his book, and it
Yep.
was like my Bible, really. I mean, that and the nets were so important to me. Now, the ISTE standards are still just as important, but I've evolved my understanding of what digital citizenship, and that's why I keep referring to it as e-leadership or digital responsibilities. I think the thing that's so important is having your group, your community, your learning culture define what digital citizenship, if that's what you're going to call it, what it means.
hmm
Because if you can create some analogies for that on your own, then you're going to have a lot more powerful learning around it.
I like the way you just put that and show having the community have the ownership of
It's
what it
important.
means to them. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, community development and community language. That's really
Yeah.
good. And we have some more people joining us here. So we lost one person, but we got Natalie still here.
Hi.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi. Um, I have been doing exactly what Michelle was saying in speaking to my students about digital citizenship when it came to taking the pledge. I thought that was it was very much a recall from what she said because I attended a opening keynote with Will Richardson and he had us take the oath. And when I did that last year, I thought, oh wow, I'd never done that for myself. So when I started my Twitter account, I also went home that night and I Googled myself and I thought, oh my gosh, that's great. But then, it's like I didn't know it was out there. It was kind of really cool. I was excited for myself because I was like, well, this is pretty nice. I'm not so embarrassed by any of this. But I know some of my kids would be. And we've not got to that. I don't know if any of the other faculty did that yet in our school corporation because we've not gone one-to-one. But it is kind of like baby steps of preparation of attending this ed camp so I could be better prepared of how to introduce that when everyone has their iPads or whatever we adopt. But currently we're supposed to be doing iPad one-to-one in 2015. And this year is going to be more of an intro for us. And so you sharing your stories and talking about it, really, I've been taking notes. So I'll stay quiet, but know that I'm enjoying listening to all of you.
And I'm enjoying. I picked this one to host just because it's something that I don't have a lot of experience with. I've had a year essentially to help develop at our school, but it's a big area for us to grow. So I'm enjoying listening to how you work things on your side because it sounds like Michelle and Christina, that you have a lot of experience with this.
Yes. So you need to share more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think it needs to be a consistent message, needs to be heard, which goes back to what Michelle was saying about community and what does it mean to the community, so that all stakeholders, teachers, students, parents, administrators are all speaking the same language and have that common understanding, whether it's at a building level or at a grade level, district level, that common language is really important. And I think it should be across buildings, because we have lots of students who transfer from one building to another building. And so to keep hearing that same consistent message is really important.
Are any of you guys using something like PBIS in your schools for the positive behavior
interventions? Yep.
So, this is like the perfect tie-in for digital citizenship, right? I mean, there is certainly a group of people that say we shouldn't use digital in front of citizenship. It should just be citizenship. But I don't know that that's realistic right now, because it is such a learning curve for so many still that we need to bring awareness to it. But that certainly is a good place to bring in the concepts about being digitally responsible. Like you were saying, the point about you shouldn't have to worry about being videotaped or photographed without permission or in a setting where it would be appropriate.
Right.
I had students when I was coaching at the high school level, when I was in the building, not as a classroom teacher, but as an e-learning coach, and I had a team of students. And I remember one of the young men had followed me on Twitter, and so I knew what he was, I could see his Twitter stream. I could pull it up and just at random look and see what he was doing. And then another one had been Facebook friended me when I have to admit that I had two Facebook profiles. I had my teacher Facebook profile, and then I finally started to live by the law, and I got rid of that. But while I had it, I saw he was posting pictures of this particular teacher on a regular basis, and I said, what's going on here? Oh, it's with permission. It's with permission. And some of them, I was a little, suspicious. And I said, okay.
Right.
So if I go talk to this teacher, she'll validate that that's true. And he said, oh, I swear. And it was. But, those are conversations we have to have. People see these things. And just because, and not everything is a follower. It's not someone who's liked you or whatever. Some of these things, like you said, it's about settings, knowing your settings, and things are out there and they can be publicly accessed without anyone, being aware that others are looking over your shoulder. So there's
one of the tricky things is the settings keep changing.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's really true. And I tell my students, I have my professional Twitter, which is the one that I use for my professional learning network, but I also have a classroom Twitter that I post every day, a summary of what we've done in class, and students can follow that. That's actually private because I also post pictures. And I tell students they can follow me. I've Googled myself multiple times, and I have nothing out there that's I wouldn't want any student or parent or administrator to see. But I tell my students I don't follow them because they don't know what they should and shouldn't put out there. One year our high school boys basketball team went to state, and so I followed the hashtag for the team, and some of the language and just some of the inappropriate stuff that the students were putting out there, my sweet innocent little 8th graders, it's like, oh my gosh, that comes out of your mouth, really? And it's just like, you know what, I tell them I don't follow you, because if you put something out there that I have to report somewhere, I don't want to take that on. So
that's a good tip.
Just, it's just and one thing that I do to make sure that they know at any time I can search. I had an issue with Vine, the 6-second video app, where students were recording sessions in my classroom, and I told them, you guys cannot record stuff, you can't post it anywhere, and some did it anyway. And I found out, and I went to my administrator, I emailed parents, and they had to take care of it and everything. It's just like, I can look, I don't actively look, but I can. So that's part of what the students need to learn and be aware of.
I want to jump in real quick. When I was at Richmond, Indiana, there was a keynote speaker at one of the Indiana e-learning sessions. He spoke of having your personal and your private Twitter as all one. He said because there shouldn't be a discipline of a switch between it, but I have to say, I appreciate your comment when you said you had a private class Twitter account and you had your PLN, because I sit here and go, I don't know that anybody that's on my professional learning network would want to see. Well, sometimes it would be fun, but not that I want to mingle those together. I would
Right.
really like the one private, and knowing that it's sharing for that audience. Like, when you say private, it only goes to those viewers that are in that feed, that it would be like parent feed, or
It's password locked, and I have to approve the followers. So
oh, that's perfect.
they'll find my it's Campia English 8. They find my Twitter handle and they have to request, and I have to approve it. And the main reason I did that is because I previously just had my PLN one, my Teaching Rocks, and I
Right.
had parents saying, you're bugging me with the number of tweets you're setting out. Because if you do one Twitter chat and all of a sudden you're at 15, 20, 40 tweets, I had parents like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm going to unfollow you because I really don't care about this stuff. And so I did. I ended up doing a separate one just for my students, for my classroom. So, and that's
And that's
easier to manage.
a great model about how we have to take on our own digital responsibilities in order for our kids to see what we're doing, modeling those things. It's funny that you said that about the speaker, because this summer I've heard more, because I'm also in Indiana, and so Summer of E-Learning, we actually fund a grant where districts can apply. So we had 19 districts do regional conferences, and they open them up for anybody to come and attend. So we have amazing keynotes all across the state all summer long. And Leslie Fisher this week has been telling people 2 accounts, a professional and then your other professional or your personal professional. So it really is a matter of personal preference. I use one just because I have so many different platforms that I use, and the people that
Right.
are following me on Twitter, they know that I'm going to be doing chats at least once a week on Thursdays for our state chat. But more often, like tonight, I'm double hashtagging stuff. But then I also have people that follow me on Pinterest for certain things and follow me on Facebook and now Google Plus, and so all of these places have different purposes. And in my Google Plus, I kind of neglect my public posts because more often I'm involved in communities. So I think it's learning who you are, where you are, and why you're there. Kind of those mentalities.
Right.
Explain to kids, if you're going to be on Vine, what's your purpose of Vine? I don't think we should force Vine to become a learning tool. I
Right.
think there's a time where that might be appropriate. You might have the right group where that really fits, but for most kids, they're recording themselves, skateboarding or doing whatever kind of things they're doing and showing off their dance moves. They're not really storytelling with Vine per se.
Right.
And for them to think that they had to have an account and use it for all things is probably misguided. I mean, they may have multiple Vine accounts, and that would be appropriate. Same with Instagram and different things like that. I mean, anybody that follows me in my professional realm that sees my Instagram, I cringe because it's about my nieces and nephews. It's not anything else. That's why I'm on Instagram. I have kids and nieces and nephews.
Right.
So, I think for us as adults to start recognizing how we're using the tools and modeling that for our students is really key.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I mentioned that I was, like, the kids, though, because of my situation, they could see my screen that I had a Twitter account, and they're like, "You're on Twitter, Mrs. McAlpin?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." I said, "I'm with a whole bunch of professional people." I said, "I go to class on Twitter." And they just looked at me kind of strangely. And they asked me then all these other things, and it's funny that you mentioned Vine, and they were saying, and I was like, "No, I don't have that." Maybe I should, but I don't. And Instagram and all these other things that they were popping up, and I have a son that's 21 with a new phone that he's paying for. It's quite grand, and just he shares all these things that he can do with it. And I'm happy in a way because, yeah, you're learning from them, but in the same sense, I distance myself from there because there's kind of 2 realms. There's student-related realm where they're used to certain networks and they don't want us older people in it. They kind of cringe if they know you have, and they can't, like, if you say, "Oh, I'm on Snapchat," they're like, "Ew." So I'm not, but I know my son is, and he says, "Oh, Mom, it's only there for 10 seconds. It disappears." And I say, "Oh, no, no, it doesn't. It's data collected somewhere."
Mhm.
And he goes, "No," and I said, "Yes." So that's something I feel like on digital citizenship. I already shared that with my sixth graders. I had a real stern talk with them, saying, "You cannot and should not, draw inappropriate crap." That didn't sound very professional, but things that are inappropriate on your Snapchat just because you think it's going to go away in 10 seconds. And then they had this real like dead stare at me, like, "Oh, I didn't know that."
Mhm.
And so this talk is like way overdue.
Oh.
We should have had this talk, like they should have had it in their elementary prior to, like, I think a fifth grade level is an appropriate level leading them into junior high. A lot of people are questioning our corporation when's too soon to share that information.
Yep.
For some of them, like you said, when parents are taking photos of them and they're already on a public account, it really sets a precedent that you need to have that discussion so that they're not doing something peculiar or weird and recognizing it's on a public opened site that their picture appears.
Mhm.
Well, I think, and that's where you also have to bring in the parent conversation, because whether it's a high school or elementary or middle school, the parents don't necessarily know what is visible or what's going on either, or when settings change or what privacy they should be using, and yeah.
Yep. And I think it's interesting, Natalie, that when you were talking about you don't have a Vine account, you don't have a Snapchat, I think just being able to say to your students, to your kids, you know what they are. You know that
Yeah.
with a Snapchat, the picture supposedly goes away in 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever it is. But just to be able to say to them, you're aware of what it is they can be doing, gives you the ability to tell them how they can use that appropriately. So even if you don't have the account, that's half the battle, is just being able to go to a kid and say, "Yeah, I know what Vine is. I've seen it before." And they're like, "Oh, what?" So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's eye-opening.
mhm.
Have there been any questions or anything come in from outside of the Hangout?
We had Annabelle. It wasn't a question. He just said that Tanya Avarith was the EduSlam, or from EduSlam, was the teacher who did the Ignite session that talked about the vaccine
Awesome.
approach.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and she's awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, she is awesome.
yeah.
Really well done.
So it sounds like we got a few minutes left here. But it sounds like it has to be a continual conversation, and parents, students, and teachers and admin, and that it's powerful to just have the conversation and let students know that you're aware and what the possibilities and ramifications are.
Yeah, and start
Good
early
summary.
engaging everybody, because even if you're not one-to-one yet, obviously our students are living this life already. And so think about panels that you can bring into your school and do parent sessions with, and different ways that you can start being more proactive. And that way you don't have to be reactive later on.
Yeah. Yeah. Start too early rather than too late.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yes.
And because honestly, there is no too early. And the question about when do we start teaching things, if you look at the E-rate SIPA rules, we have to be teaching at all grade levels digital citizenship in terms of digital safety and social media responsibility. I don't remember the exact key words from SIPA. It's been a few years since I poured over it when the change was made, I think in 2012. But it's kindergarten and up. So if you're receiving
Sure they
E-rate,
are.
that's a mandate.
E-rate says, okay. Yeah. Well, it is amazing what the little kindergartners are doing one-to-one. So
Mhm.
I understand completely what you're saying. That is a key for them as well.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Christina and Michelle for sharing everything they know and they've experienced and moving forward. And I want to go back and look up. I got a whole list here to look up. So thank you for sharing and being part of the conversation.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for moderating this. I would have been too chicken. So
Oh,
glad you stepped up.
I was
Appreciate the initiating.
I was spamming invites, so I went down the list, I don't know, 10, 15 times. So if someone didn't get in here, I apologize. But I tried inviting everyone on the list over
The
and over and over.
record shows you definitely were committed to getting people in here. So
Yes.
good work.
Cool.
Thank you.
All
Thank you,
right.
Dan. Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right. I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna stop the broadcast so we can find out what's up for round two. All right.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.